This morning for discussion. We have one of our expected two guests. I want to believe that in the course of this program, a second guest will join us on the program. But we have here someone who has actually covered various tourism programs and visited so many tourist sites in and outside this country, and is also the publisher of royaltytourism.ng.com, Mr. Adesanya or Resanya. It's nice having you in the series.
Thanks for having me, sir.
All right. Moses is also here, and together we shall be taking Adesanya here this morning.
Welcome again, Mr. Resanya.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's get started. Let's just put this into perspectives. Of course, international travelers have not been coming in owing to coronavirus lockdowns virtually across the globe. And that has led to maybe dwindled income generation for the the tourist centers we have across the nation. So I want to know, apart from that, what are the other impacts, or how much of an impact has this pandemic had on tourism in Nigeria?
The impact this the COVID-19 pandemic has on tourism in Nigeria is catastrophic. It's catastrophic in the sense that what entices tourists is what they inquire within themselves that they want to see. At this period of the year is when we have the peak of the festivals across the country. Name any state you want to name it. This is towards the end of the year is when they have their cultural celebrations. But unfortunately, due to this pandemic, air travels has been on lockdown globally, and even within the country, it is not advisable. Any physical gathering that is exceeding a certain limit is being discouraged because of the pandemic. So the effect of the pandemic on the tourism industry is catastrophic.
So where do we go from here? Will the tourism sector survive? Because we don't know how long it will take for flights to resume, because we know that we need international travelers to come in, people going here and there. So what's really the future?
The beauty of life is all about challenges. And when challenges comes, the best to do is to seek solution to it. As it is right now, we're in a new world order. It is not peculiar to only Nigeria. Even the Saudi Arabia has said no more, they are not going to accommodate international pilgrims this year. It's going to be a huge loss for them too. So many other tourist centers across the globe are being affected due to the non-travel. But as it is in the country, what we should be doing right now is to be having a retrospect, a situation where we will be better prepared for this kind of occurrence in future. And what are the things that we're supposed to do? Even some of these festivals, some of these tourist sites, they are not in the best shape as it is now. So as it is now, we're supposed to be putting them in the best of shape, doing our best to see what is supposed to be there that is not there. Some of those festivals, they happen without medical services readily available for participants. That if anything happens there, it takes a lot before they get medical attention. And with this pandemic, it goes to show that healthcare is not something that we should toy with. So we in the tourism industry, we believe that with the right infrastructures, begin to tailor towards providing healthcare facilities for such in future, and see how we can begin to digitalize this festival, make it a virtual event where participants can be there without physically being there. Because as it is right now, whatever you're doing that physical distancing is not considered, then you're not doing anything. You must begin to do things on the virtual space where you can do it, and the party that is to benefit from it is benefiting from it without having to be at a particular place of event.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about virtual tourism, because I think in some climes, they've started, even away from festivals, wildlife tourism and the likes. People can now log on some websites, just to see, and it actually goes, for a fee.
Well, that's
that we, also perhaps, to go before it.
That's what I'm saying. We're going into a virtual climb. The world is turning to a global village where I don't need to be at the edge to perform my pilgrimage. I don't need to be in Jerusalem to perform my pilgrimage. I don't need to be at Osun Grove to see what is happening at Osun Grove. But the problem we have in the country is infrastructural deficit. If we want to have the virtual space to be actually as active as we want, we have the numbers, but do we have the infrastructures in place?
Sorry to cut in, but doesn't that negate, the essence of tourism? Because you want to be there, you want to see, for yourself, you want to touch. We are talking about virtual tourism. If that really comes into play, fully,
it will negate it. It would only, what it would do is, it will create a balance. You see, you do not think of vacationing when you are hungry. You don't understand? You do not think of vacationing when you are hungry. Those that vacation, those that visit tourist sites, naturally are people that are seen as well-to-do. So we are just creating an opportunity for those that not as privileged as that to also benefit from those tourist environment. So that it will not just be ESC, they can also see it via the virtual space.
All right. Now, let's look at some few other countries that have actually taken tourism as their major earnings. For instance, if you go to East Africa, as little as they are in terms of industrial presence, many of them, they utilize their kind of environments, and they are using most of their reserves, where people come around to see the giraffe, the elephants, and when you look at Nigeria, for instance, Nigeria, we have virtually all kinds of climate that you think you can get anywhere in Africa.
True.
We have it in Nigeria.
Anywhere in the world,
yes,
we have it in Nigeria.
Why is it difficult for us to also, because at times when you sit down, you watch some of these animal channels and all of that, a lot are done in the East Africa. Why is it difficult for us there?
Now, to start with, the challenge that we have is too prone.
Okay.
Too prone in the sense that we have the challenge of lack of human capital for that. There is a part of tourism that is human-driven, the tour guide part of tourism.
Okay.
For such to happen, just as you've said, you see that there are always tour guides that are used to those clients, that have good relationship with those animals, with those artifacts and all those things, that knows where to touch, what not to touch, and how to move around there. But in Nigeria, we see tour guides as loafers, which is unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate, because it is the lack of motivation for a tour guide that would make him not want to be a tour guide, that would make him seek other profession rather than being a tour guide. But the tour guide perspective, part of tourism, is a very important one that we're supposed to have young men and women, old men and women that are used to these climbs, come to take tourists around there, explain and tell them what each artifact, what each animal stands for, how it has existed and all that. Just like the late Allah Akbar in some of Ogbomoso's palace. If you get to some of Ogbomoso's palace, then you would always see an old man that would tell you the history.
Okay, that's the
giant tortoise that is late now. Yeah, that has outlived kings in the palace before his eventual death. You know, such people are supposed to be continually trained and retrained to be available. But how available are they at our tourist sites? Okay. The people that you find at the tourist site are even people that cannot efficiently communicate with tourists
and guide the
tourists.
See, my worry actually came from the fact that sometimes in the past I had the privilege of being at Yankari. I think it was a sporting competition that we were in Bauchi to do at that time, and we now created time to visit, and we saw some of these wild animals also. Well, and I begin to wonder, why are we not having researchers and all of that like we do see in these other African countries? Nigerians, there is no field that we don't have experts. We have zoologists, we have foresters, so all those ones are beyond the tourist guide. They are specialists.
Yeah, true to it. But you know, we are talking tourism. I don't want us to digress from
because
tourism.
I see that as a potential tourist.
The truth of the matter is, whatever a man does, he must find fulfillment in it. Okay. And when you don't find fulfillment in what you do, you begin to lack motivation. It is a natural law of life. You know, when you talk about researchers, now I heard within this pandemic that the CBN wants to give medical researchers for whether herbal or whatever vaccine a certain amount of grant. Must we have a pandemic before such is being thought about?
Okay.
Must we be in crisis before we begin to look about how we will resolve things? Why can't we be proactive? Why can't we do things that would... That's why I talked about human capital development. You know, I'm a Yoruba man. I'm sorry, you know, but there's a Yoruba saying that says, we fetch water because of thirst. We do not thirst before we start looking to get water.
Okay.
You know, all these things that we're talking about, they are things that are supposed to naturally be, we are supposed to be proactive at doing. We're supposed to be tailoring our doings at it to mitigate against future occurrence. In the midst of this pandemic, I was watching CNN one day and I was shocked to see Obama talk. Obama left governance almost 4 years now, but he had talked about an occurring pandemic for future. It had made America to begin to plan and mitigate towards such. And what is wrong with us? It is not as if, just like you said, it's not as if we do not have the people that have the zeal, the passion to do these things, but are they motivated? If they are not motivated, how will they survive? And if they do not survive, how will they be able to continue with the research?
Okay. Now, let's look at one other aspect of this tourism potentials we have in Nigeria. Nigeria, we have a lot of cultural festivals from the north to the south, from west to east. We have, and when you see these festivals, they are big enough festivals that definitely there will have been some income coming from it.
Definitely.
But do we have our tourism sector well organized that we can say, okay, from Oshun Festival this year, the aggregate income is maybe 1.1 billion naira. From Ojude Oba this year, the aggregate income is 2 point something. You know what I'm trying to talk about?
It's not impossible that we have such. But the truth of the matter is, the government of the day can't have the record of such because they are not fully participants. They don't, what you do not get involved with, there might be limits to information you would have.
Okay.
In the sense that, apart from the fact that the moment a governor or a man at the helm of affairs is not interested or is being partisan, it becomes a problem to attract government patronage to it. And once the government does not support financially, it cannot come and ask the organizers that, what did you make?
But the organizer should also let it be in the public space so that people will have confidence.
The truth of the matter is, it is in the space of those that were part of it. The public, of what value is it to the public that, okay, at Oshogbo 2019, we made 2 billion. Are we sharing dividend?
No, but investors will look at it and say, oh, there's an opportunity there.
The sponsors that come on board, what they are really after is not what even the organizers make. What they are after is, how has it been beneficial to their own product and services? Once they see a beneficial response to their product and services, they are good to go. Once they see that it is a potential market for their product and services, they would always be part of it. That is what has been driving tourism. That's what has been driving all these festivals.
Well, talking about now, I know it's on record that Ghana made about $1.7 billion from tourism last year. Of course, that must have reduced drastically this year, thanks to coronavirus. But that aside, how can we really maximize the potentials in tourism amidst the pandemic? Yes, we talked earlier about virtual tourism. I want to believe that that's a long way to go, at least for now. When you talk about getting professionals, getting, top-notch cameras and all. Let's look at other options. What can be done?
As it is right now, like I said, the New World Order does not promote physical gathering. So having to prepare for this kind of occasion in future is for us to put some things in place, which includes, the first is the healthcare system. All tourist sites should be mandated to have at least an healthcare facility within it. It should be mandatory. Because I don't think there is any healthcare facility in Olumorok.
But of the healthcare facilities around?
Now we're talking about a situation where a facility is dedicated to a tourist site. It is necessary. It is important. I don't know if I'm making sense to you, but I feel it's important that if you have a dedicated facility to every tourist center, it is advantageous to that tourist center. It makes it even more endearing to a tourist that if anything happens.
But should that be the priority? If you are to prioritize what to do, talking about transforming the tourist centers, in the order of priority really?
In the order of priority, that's number one now.
First?
In the order of priority right now as we speak, in the event of this pandemic, that's number one. Because it is the elderly person that becomes a tourist. He shouldn't come in healthy and live on healthy. You don't understand. So whatever takes care of life should be prioritized, followed by creating adequate security. We have a security challenge in the country, and it is not limited to northwest or northeast. It's not limited to any part of the country. The tourists are high value targets to kidnappers. If their security is not guaranteed, then how would we encourage them to come around? Roads that lead to tourist centers should be well littered. Access roads should be created. We are talking about down, because these are not things that are being prioritized. Meanwhile, as we are right now, what we are supposed to be doing is getting those places set so that as the world heals, we can be ready to have people coming. Because obviously, by the time the world heals, everybody wants to relax as much as possible. Everybody wants to unwind as much as possible. We've been bottled up for too long.
Well, a school of thought also believes that even if by the time we've fully controlled or contained this pandemic, international travelers may not be so willing, it may really take, some time, for them to, want to go out of their country, want to go out of their comfort zone, for fun. Are you also looking at it from that direction? Even wildlife tourism, because this virus actually emanated from animals, according to scientists. So some people will want to go near.
I want to differ, because let's take, for example, the local air travel that was just recently allowed to run. Initially, they said 3 hours before your flight you must get to the airport. But I can tell you one of the reasons why it's being reduced to 1 hour is because of the number of people that are coming. So that there are so many people stranded in this country for one reason or the other. There are so many people stranded. So the moment the airspace are open, the airport becomes motor garage again. It becomes tantamount to motor garage. It's just simple. We are humans. We've been bottled for too long.
But people travel for various reasons. Tourism just, one of them.
This particular time of the year is the winter break. The summer break rather. Is a period of the year where people do more travel. And unfortunately, they can't travel now because of the airspace being closed. The pandemic is on. I can tell you anytime the thing comes down, no matter the cold, some people will still travel. They will still travel. They would rather, let me just go. Let me just go. Some people travel not just even because they want to go for tourist vacation. They travel to avoid so many things.
Okay, now let's look at, we've mentioned the areas of maybe wildlife and maybe tourist
Cultural
sites.
tourism.
Cultural tourism. But we still have some other aspects of tourism, even sports.
Hospitality.
Medical. The medical you even talk about. Why is it difficult for us in Nigeria? Because sometimes I read somewhere that before, in the past, that the Saudi king was in UCH Ibadan.
He used to come to UCH Ibadan. I also read it.
To seek for medical attention.
I honestly would like to know who was around at that time that can really give credence to that story, because it's not as if it's not true, and it's not as if it is not possible. But if Nigeria ever had such facility that could bring the caliber of the king of Saudi Arabia into the country for medical purpose, then why do we now have our leaders spend so much on medical tourism?
And that's the issue that I actually
But
want to throw at your.
so that means if you want to throw that issue at me,
Yes.
you want to leave tourism.
No. It's
medical tourism. You see, it's a type of tourism.
Do you know why that is important? Even presently, most of these advanced countries that we talk about in their medical sector, you still find so many Nigerians leading the pack. Even in this.
As we are talking like this,
Yes.
if the open air travel today, the remaining, if we have 10 doctors in Nigeria, the remaining 10 will remain 2.
So
It is not. It is because I read this anywhere. It was a very laughable thing that where the Minister of Health was saying they won't pay you hazard allowance if you leave Nigeria. Who is going to seek hazard allowance outside Nigeria? Is that the purpose of the medical practitioners leaving the country? No. It is a talk of motivation. It is talk of motivation. What we're laughing at right now is something that is really painful. That we have to have heard in history that here in this country, there's a facility that that the King of Saudi Arabia has engaged its services. And yet, that facility is not as maintained, because if it is either maintained, it will still be having such personalities coming over there. But obviously, everything in the world is a change. The thermometer that I used that was used on me while I was a kid, isn't the same kind of thermometer being used today. But you don't be shocked that some of the facilities that the Saudi king came to benefit from here in Nigeria are still what is still being in use today. So how would you expect somebody that came in the 70s to still come and experience the same thing? You know how many generations of such equipment has been override? So it's something that is, that's why I say we begin to talk about this, that will deviate from tourism. So let's just...
Okay. Okay. Sorry, you can go ahead.
Okay, let's deviate from medical tourism and let's talk about cultural tourism. Of course, culture is driven by tourism. Tourism is driven by culture, yes. Vice versa. So, how really vibrant is the cultural tourism, across the nation?
It's an unfortunate thing that this pandemic has really dealt with cultural tourism. It has really dealt with cultural tourism so much that it's heartbreaking. Some days ago, states are beginning to cancel to further notice cultural festivals. These are festivals that either they'll make sons and daughters outside the country come into the country. The people selling as small as Iru locust beans benefit from cultural tourism. That's as small as Iru, because when people come from outside the state, they buy what they cannot get where they are at the prices. Some of those things are not even where they are, but the prices that they buy it, they take advantage of it to buy in so much quantity. They empower the people economically. Hospitality business booms at that period of the year within such locations. So cultural tourism is the most affected at this time of this pandemic. We were actually praying when it all started in the beginning of the year that before the second quarter rounds up, God will heal our land so that we will begin. But as it is right now, we are in the third quarter already. In fact, the first month of the third quarter is rounding up, and there is no vaccine in sight. There is no solution in sight. It is not something. Some days ago, Abuja issued an official statement, so that don't be thinking there is no Ujudi Oba.
But let's look at this. Still talking about cultural tourism. To what extent is this notion that most of the cultural festivals has anything to do with religious beliefs. For instance, Osun Osogbo you mentioned, we have Egungun, we have
Zogu,
and so many of these,
so many
of these cultural
festivals.
The
Newdawn festivals.
Even the one in Ife,
Olojo festival.
It comes out, and all of it. Some people will tell you that those festivals are maybe because they are traditional Yoruba festivals. They see it as a fetish. To what extent is this claim affecting cultural festivals?
It is. Unfortunately, the claim resides in the head of those that are saying it. Because, fortunately for me, I've been able to transverse the length and breadth of this country, attending festivals, covering festivals. And I've not seen anyone that is as fetish as affecting somebody's progress or religion. It is not. It is not. For example, in a place called Ugep in Cross River State, they celebrate Liboku Festival. It's all about yams. And when you ask them why are they celebrating the Liboku Festival, they tell you that they are thanking God that how can you put just the head of yam in the ground, and by the time it comes out in tubers. It is something that they feel that it is a need for them to thank their ancestors, to thank the supernatural being who they do not see. So whichever way you chose to, all those cultural festivals are more like Thanksgiving. They are more like Thanksgiving. Why do they celebrate Osun Osogbo? Because the progenitor of the town had an arrangement with the Osun deity. As long as you bring Thanksgiving, there will be peace and tranquility in this town. And so it has been. So why would you expect such people from that environment not to make it a continuous event since it is so peaceful? Since it has made the town to be so peaceful, they have not had unnecessary menace of disease and all that. Why would you tell someone celebrating a Egungun festival that is celebrating a fetish festival when it is inherent where in the house it comes from that there must be a time of the year where we thank this deity for protecting us in the previous year? So is it wrong? Okay, should I now say that the Christians that says at a particular time of the year, they have their own Ikore in church, that they are having something to do being fetish? You don't say that. Everybody has his own style, and severally it has been. We have always debunked this claim in the cultural tourism circle that it is not fetish. It is just a means of thanksgiving. Period.
All right. Then, in that case, we might also want to look at some additional flares of our cultural tourism, which has to do with our dressing and these days. I think one way or the other, modernization and globalization is also affecting our styles. In those days, we see the geles of our mothers and all of that.
You know, I read a comic joke sometime that someone wore buba and shokoto, and in the comics, the white comic say, "Why are you not dressed like a gentleman?" And the man answered that your tailor in your clime makes you a gentleman. But where I come from, good character, integrity, good personality makes a gentleman, not the way he's dressed. We have had ourselves bamboozled unnecessarily by the westernization, and unfortunately for us, we copied and we copied wrong. It's as if a child writing an exam and giraffing, and after copying everything, he still copied the name of the person he's giraffing.
Wonderful.
True, that is because that's what we are doing, and which is not who we are. We have made ourselves feel that somebody wearing Ankara is poor. You know, we have made ourselves feel that somebody wearing Adire is an illiterate. You know, you get to an office on the Monday morning and you wear buba and shokoto, and you see some bosses tell their subordinate that, why are you wearing buba and shokoto? Why are you not dressed in shirt and the tie? You know, and it makes me begin to think that, is this who we really are? Is this who we really are? No, that's not who we are.
All right. Now, from your experience, let's look at the tourism potentials in Ogun State. Now, incidentally, you mentioned Oluma the other time, and your suggestion was that for a facility like that, there must be a health facility, at least to complement in
the
case
place.
of anything and all of that. Fine. That's a good suggestion, which I think will also assist those who are in charge.
Yeah.
But in Ogun State, we have various tourist centers across.
Yes.
In your opinion, do you think we are actually taking advantage of these facilities?
We are not. We are not.
Okay.
We are not, in the sense that, now this is not even a problem of just the government. It is a problem of with the people.
All right.
With the people, because the government is not abstract. It is the people that run the government. It is still be. There's something that they call, we should do a self-check.
Okay.
You know, how well do we even, do those that are put in position to manage these places, how well do they manage them? There is a tourist attraction, Yemoji Waterfall.
Yeah.
That place comes alive only once in a year. And that place is so beautiful. It's so, the landscape is so alluring that it makes me, each time of that, at that particular time of the year, is when the Ishiwo people do Ojude Oba Ishiwo. So the Ojude Oba Ishiwo, to me, even has more crowd than Ojude Oba Ijebode, because every household in Ishiwo, no matter where you are in the world, are always there. They are always home. So all their children, their grandchildren, they go to that Yemoji waterfall to have fun, play. Such a place is somewhere that is not supposed to just be alive once in a year. It's somewhere that is supposed to be well managed, that conferences, retreats can hold there. People can go there to relax. But unfortunately, it happens only once in a year. And most likely, this year is going to be dry.
It's certain. It's certain. No, there won't be physical gathering of any kind anyway.
So it's a challenge that we ourselves, how do we handle things placed in our care? How? We want to, whatever I can benefit, it's all about me.
Okay, well, tourism is so wide, but we'll just try and touch on maybe a few facets. Now, let me take away from that food tourism now. Where are we when it comes to, I know that it's really, it's so big that if you want to promote what you eat, because we talk about Chinese rice, and we also have our own, in which you can also have, I know there are some places, we also have food festivals where international travelers will come to taste, some delicacies, and from there, you're actually selling out, what you have, to them. How vibrant is this?
I love this part that we have gotten to now. It's something that is very, very touching to me. I'm not a big foodie, but I'm a lover of good food. And when I mean good food, it's strictly Nigerian, African dish, Nigerian dish, precisely. But you know, just as our language is going into extinction gradually, because most homes now speaks the foreign language to their children, I am a culprit. Unfortunately, you know, same way, is it children that all we speak to them is foreign language, that we want to now encourage to come and eat banga soup or to come and eat eforiru? Ask a child now, what is your best food? If it is not Indomie, it is rice and stew. You know, and it is so pathetic that we say, like every day I tell myself, Mama Bomode is Yoruba, I will be speaking Yoruba to this boy, but you know, I would have spoken so much Gesi before I realized that, I said I will speak Yoruba to this boy. You know, when it's not told them to eat, it is not a forceful thing. When these people begin to grow, how would they be able to say they want to enjoy our food? With the parents, how much of that food do we cook? Even within our generation, we have ladies, men that cannot cook Nigerian dish. It is gradually going into extinction, and it is sad. And if we do not promote our own, how would people come and say they want to help us to make it loud? Unfortunately for us, those of us here that we do not value our own, when we travel out of the country, we begin to look for Nigerian kitchen up and down. We begin to run around looking for Nigerian kitchen, using expensive money to buy Nigerian food. Meanwhile, when we come into the country, it's a lie. I wonder why the level of our own copycat is anti-clockwise. I've not seen such in the world anywhere. The Indians were also colonized by the same people that colonized us. But I'm sure that they didn't leave their culture, they didn't leave their food for the English food. Then why are we at that point?
But from
is an issue of our person who have returned ourselves to become.
But from tourism point of view, couldn't there be a deliberate attempt in terms of maybe organizing events? I do know that sometimes in the past we do watch a program on TV where people come around to cook. It's being promoted by one.
It still happens. You still have so many of those cook shows on air.
In the communities, for instance, when you are having cultural festival, maybe Lishabi festival, you would also have
a cooking competition.
For Egba delicacies.
Because in addition to that, I could remember when I was in the university, we used to have Amala Day in Amala Ngbegiri, where everybody would come around, cook Amala, in surplus, and we eat. So, how much of this do we have?
That's what I'm saying now. Most of these things now, coming into mainstream, they have to be a motive. They have to be a sort of encouragement at it. When you begin to say, let us do a food fair, for example, how many people are we going to say that will be willing to participate? How many corporate bodies are willing to support such venture? And when you organize an event and you don't see adequate participation, you don't see adequate support, it demoralizes. And it is such things, continuity, that would continue to make people to be aware and to be, disposed to tasting and wishing to have it on the table.
As we round off, post-COVID-19, where do you see tourism? Do you see it as something that could be the next gold mine in terms of incomes?
tourism is a gold mine anytime, any day. Unfortunately, we were not just prepared for this pandemic. That is why we are at this point. My own advice is for us to get ourselves prepared. Post-pandemic, it is a gold mine.
Okay. All right. I think we have to go on the program.
Yes, post-pandemic, it is a good mine for tourism. So on that note, we have to draw the curtain. So many thanks to our guest, Mr. Desonya. Oresonya. It's been quite enlightening having you.
Double Sonya.
Yes, double Sonya. So many thanks to you also for watching us. Till next week when we come again, you're welcome your way again. Though on Monday we'll still be having the Monday edition of this program, and the draw of Biodun Alabi and Dominic Agbea will be in between. Also Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we have the Yoruba version, and that one is called Otun Ojo. Please stay safe and stay healthy. Bye for now.
There are some mischief makers who are in the habit of peddling fake news on the internet, while also encouraging